Hello, it's Jim Games here once again, and welcome to this new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. In this video we are going to continue with this inventory item drop-down system. So yeah, let's get started. So what we want to do first is we want to go to the hot folder and we want to open the W inventory slot. Okay, and here on the designer we have to do one thing. We want to search for a drop-down. And menu anchor. We want to move it to here. Actually, we want to move it to the canvas panel. Yeah, here. Okay, and let's rename this to be drop down anchor. And it has to be a variable. Okay, now let's set its anchor point to the bottom middle part, and let's set the position to 0, 0, size to 0, 0. We don't have to add anything there. Also the placement, it has to be centered below, like this. Simple as that. Let's compile, let's save, and let's go to the graph. Here on the graph, here we actually have this on hovered button background and on unhovered. I want to do one little thing with these because we would have to change them in the future. So let's copy all these, both of these functions, and let's paste them right here. Now it has created some custom events to them. Okay, and that's good. Only thing is that we want to move these a little bit further so it looks a little bit better. This first custom event, let's actually move it a little bit downwards. And also this, sorry. This first custom event, this top one, will set the name and description basically. You can see we get from details and we set it. Let's call this set name and details. Simple as that. And this, let's call this set empty. And we cannot set it. Let's call it set details empty. Okay, now it's good. Let's compile, save. And now what we want to do is we want to create a custom event up here also. Let's call this check if set name and details or something like that. And what we want to do here, we want to get our drop down anchor, and we want to check is open. Is our drop down open basically. Also, we want to get a or boolean. Let's align all these. Now we want to create a new variable which will be called hovered. We want to check if the hovered is true or the dropdown is open. Let's add a branch. And this will just select the correct one of these. So from the true, we want to call the set name and details. And from the false, we want to call the set details empty. So this one here, simple as that. And now here on the unhovered, let's delete this, and also on the unhovered, let's delete that. What we want to do here now is we want to call the hovered, and we want to set it to true on hovered, of course. Also, on unhovered, let's set it to false. Now let's align this. And now we want to, after this, just call the check if set name and details. Okay, and why do we do it this way? Because we want to also, when we open the dropdown, we don't want these details to name and details like to go away. So this way we can check if we have hovered the button or we have the dropdown open. Okay, this is just better way because we will have to call this function event from elsewhere also later. So this will be a lot cleaner. So the next thing that we have to do, let's actually quickly here on the on-clicked button background. Let's delete this inspect and let's get the item details like on the last episode. Let's split it. Let's get from here. Let's get a copy and we want to get the 0 index and now we want to switch on item actions. So we are getting the correct action basically. Now let's call the use call function use, and from the inspect call function inspect, and from the drop let's call the function drop like this. So now it will just select the correct function always. And now let's move these a little bit further down. Yeah. So now that we have created that, how we can actually open the dropdown? We can do it by going to the functions and here to the override. We want to find the on mouse button down, this one. Let's create a function. Now let's move this return value. Actually, let's delete it. We cannot, so let's move it away, like here. We will need it soon. Now, what we want to do first is we want to add a branch here. Let's leave some space. So B and left click. And what we want to check here is if we have hovered. So if our button is hovered, because otherwise this on mouse button down will also call even when you are not over this slot basically. So this way we will make sure that we have hovered the item. Now we want to get a and boolean. Let's actually move it here, connect here. Now we want to get from the mouse events, we want to is mouse button down. Let's click this and let's click right mouse button, connect to here. And let's move this a little bit further. So now we are checking that we have hovered the item and also we have the right mouse button down. Okay. And if everything is good, what we want to do, we have to go quickly to the event graph. Here, let's find some empty space. Maybe here under this, let's create a new custom event again, and let's call this create dropdown. Here we want to get the dropdown anchor, and we want to toggle open and focus on open like that. Now compile, save, and let's go back to the on mouse button down. So on the true, let's actually get the return value a little bit closer. On the true, we want to first call the create dropdown. And then we want to connect it to the return value. And here, now if we compile, we will get an error here. So what we want to do, we want to get from the return value and we want to get a handled event reply, handled like this. Now let's also copy this return value down here. From the false, let's add a reroute. And let's compile. Now you can see we have error also here. So what we have to do, we want to get a on handled. Like this. So if it's true, we will handle it. If it's false, we will unhandle it. Compile, save, and let's go back to the event graph. Under this create dropdown, what we have to do, we want to select our dropdown anchor on menu open changed. Let's actually move it back to there where we were here. What we want to do here, we want to just call the check if set name and details. So we will check these things here and call these by that. So if we have menu open or we have hovered, we will call this, and if not, we will call the empty. Simple as that. Now one more thing that we have to do here, because we cannot or we haven't passed the inventory slot reference yet to the dropdown. So we would have some little problems there. So let's compile, save, and now we have to actually go to the designer. And here, let's select the dropdown anchor and let's scroll down. Here we have this on get user menu content. Let's bind, create binding. Okay. What we have to do here now is we have to create widget, and the widget will be the W inventory slot dropdown. And here from the W inventory slot ref, we want to get a reference to self. Now this return value to the return value and compile, and we should be ready to go. So let's save all. Let's go and play. Let's see what happens. Inventory, let's right click. We will see the dropdown. Let's go here. We can still see it because we have the dropdown open, but when we click here, it will go away. Or if we click here again, it will go away. Also, we can see we have the name and details showing here, even though we are not over it anymore. We have the dropdown open basically. So yeah, and the inspect works. Drop doesn't because we haven't added anything to that yet. But yeah, I actually think that was all for this video. If you like what you saw, please click the like button and subscribe for more. And yeah, hope you have a great day and see you on the next one. Bye.